You kids don't know the P-47 Thunderbolt, the Jug, a beast of the skies, a plane so tough, so relentless that pilots swore by it, enemies feared it, and ground crews marveled at its ability to take a beating and keep flying. But the Thunderbolt wasn't just another warplane. It was a game changer. Bigger, heavier, and stronger than most of its contemporaries, it defied expectations. At first glance, it seemed too large to be a dogfighter, too unwieldy to take on the nimble Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs. Yet, time and time again, the P-47 proved its worth, turning the tide of air battles with its unmatched firepower, sheer resilience, and high-speed diving capability. Whether strafing enemy ground forces or engaging in furious aerial duels, the Thunderbolt became the ultimate warhorse of the skies. This is the story of the P-47 Thunderbolt, its origins, its lesser-known secrets, its awe-inspiring flight characteristics, and the pivotal battles where it earned its legendary status. Strap in, because this one's going to be a wild ride. Born from the mines at Republic Aviation in the late 1930s, the P-47 Thunderbolt was designed to be something entirely different from the nimble fighters of its time. With war on the horizon, the U.S. Army Air Corps needed a fast, heavily armed, and high-altitude, capable aircraft. Alexander Kartveli, Republic's chief designer, took that challenge head-on. The result? A massive, robust fighter powered by the mighty Pratt & Whitney double Wasp engine, capable of pushing the aircraft past 400 miles per hour, an astonishing feat for such a large machine. The P-47's design revolved around survivability and firepower. Unlike the fragile airframes of some European fighters, the Thunderbolt was built like a flying tank. It featured an air-cooled radial engine, reducing vulnerability to coolant leaks, and a robust frame that could withstand severe damage and still make it home. Armed with 850 caliber M2 Browning machine guns, 4 in each wing, the P-47 packed enough firepower to shred enemy aircraft and tear through ground targets with ease. Its first combat deployment came in early 1943, and initial impressions were mixed. Pilots accustomed to lighter fighters found the Thunderbolt cumbersome at first. But once they discovered its strengths, its high-speed dive, powerful engine, and resilience in combat, it quickly gained favor. When used in the European theater for bomber escort missions, its ruggedness and ability to take punishment from enemy fire proved invaluable. By the war's end, the P-47 had evolved into one of the most effective fighter bombers in history. Over 15,000 were built, and it became a dominant force in both the European and Pacific theaters, cementing its place as one of the most legendary fighters of World War II. If the P-47 Thunderbolt looked intimidating on the ground, it was even more so in the air. With its massive Pratt & Whitney radial engine churning out over 2,000 horsepower, the Thunderbolt could climb aggressively, accelerate rapidly, and, most famously, dive like a meteor. Pilots knew that if an enemy got the jump on them, they could push the nose down, open the throttle, and watch the altimeter spin as they plummeted toward the earth, outpacing any pursuer. Despite its size, the Thunderbolt was surprisingly agile at high speeds. While it couldn't turn inside a nimble Bf-109 or Spitfire, it had rock-solid stability and excellent roll control. This made it an ideal gun platform. Pilots could line up a shot and let loose with those 850 caliber machine guns, knowing that a well-placed burst would obliterate anything in their sights. Its rugged airframe also made it incredibly forgiving. Unlike lighter aircraft that demanded precision, the Thunderbolt could absorb rough landings, take hits from enemy fire, and still bring its pilot home. Its cockpit was spacious and well-armored, offering pilots an extra level of protection that boosted confidence in combat. One of its most famous traits was its ability to fly back to base even after sustaining heavy damage. Many Thunderbolts returned with gaping holes in their wings, missing chunks of fuselage, or dead cylinders in their engines. yet they kept flying. This resilience made it a favorite among pilots who valued survival just as much as firepower. Though initially built as a high-altitude escort fighter, the P-47 eventually found its calling as a ground attack beast. Pilots used its incredible dive speed, heavy armor, and massive payload to rain devastation on enemy forces below. With bombs, rockets, and strafing runs, the Thunderbolt became the ultimate close-air support aircraft of World War II. All in all, flying the P-47 Thunderbolt was an experience of raw power and unyielding might. It may not have been the most elegant fighter of the war, but it was, without a doubt, one of the toughest and most effective. While the P-47 Thunderbolt is widely recognized for its resilience and firepower, there are some surprising facts that make it even more remarkable. For starters, it was the heaviest single-engine fighter of World War II, weighing in at nearly 8 tons when fully loaded. Yet despite its size, it could still outrun and outgun many of its adversaries, proving that brute force could go toe-to-toe with agility. Another little-known fact is that the P-47 could carry more ordnance than a B-17 Flying Fortress on shorter missions. With a payload capacity of up to 2,500 pounds of bombs, combined with its 8.50 caliber machine guns, it became one of the most effective ground attack aircraft of the war. It shredded enemy convoys, destroyed supply lines, and provided crucial support to advancing Allied troops. But the Thunderbolt wasn't just about brute strength. It also had speed. During test flights, some P-47 models pushed past 500 miles per hour in a dive, making it one of the fastest aircraft of the war in a controlled descent. This ability allowed it to escape dogfights, reposition for attacks, and swoop down on unsuspecting enemies with devastating results. Perhaps most surprising of all, the P-47 was instrumental in pioneering long-range escort tactics. With the addition of drop tanks, it could fly over 1,800 miles, escorting bombers deep into enemy territory, something previously thought impossible for a single-engine fighter. Though initially built as a high-altitude escort fighter, the P-47 eventually found its calling as a ground attack beast. Pilots used its incredible dive speed, heavy armor, and massive payload to rain devastation on enemy forces below. With bombs, rockets, and strafing runs, the Thunderbolt became the ultimate close-air support aircraft of World War II. All in all, flying the P-47 Thunderbolt was an experience of raw power and unyielding might. It may not have been the most elegant fighter of the war, but it was, without a doubt, one of the toughest and most effective. June 6, 1944, the day the world changed forever. As Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, a battle raged not only on the ground but in the skies above. The P-47 Thunderbolt was there, thundering through the air, hammering enemy positions, and ensuring that the largest amphibious invasion in history would succeed. In the pre-dawn hours, before the first landing craft reached the beaches, waves of P-47s launched from bases in England, sweeping through the skies to secure air superiority. German fighters posed a deadly threat to the invasion fleet, but the Thunderbolt pilots were ready. Armed with their 8.50 caliber machine guns, they intercepted Luftwaffe aircraft, attempting to attack the Armada, forcing many to turn back before they could reach their targets. But air superiority was only half the mission. The true test of the Thunderbolt's might came when the landings began. The moment the first boots hit the sand, the Jugs became the eyes, ears, and iron fist of the Allied forces. Pilots flew low over Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword beaches, identifying enemy positions and relaying critical intelligence. Then, with surgical precision, they unleashed hell. Rockets and bombs obliterated bunkers, machine gun nests, and artillery positions, while strafing runs tore through enemy reinforcements trying to reach the front. As the invasion forces pushed inland, the Thunderbolt's role didn't end at the beaches. Over the following days and weeks, it became a relentless force of destruction against German convoys, supply lines, and reinforcements. The sight of a squadron of P-47s overhead became a symbol of Allied dominance, striking fear into enemy forces and lifting the spirits of soldiers on the ground. D-Day was a turning point in World War II, and the P-47 Thunderbolt was at the heart of it. The Jug had already built a reputation as a formidable fighter bomber, but over Normandy, it cemented its status as one of the most effective and reliable aircraft of the war. It wasn't just a plane, it was a war machine. And on June 6, 1944, it proved why it was one of the deadliest weapons in the Allied arsenal. The P-47 Thunderbolt tore through enemy lines, outgunned adversaries, and brought countless pilots home against all odds. From the skies over Normandy to the islands of the Pacific, the Thunderbolt was the muscle behind the Allied air war, proving that brute strength, resilience, and firepower could dominate the battlefield. Even after World War II, the Jug's legacy lived on. It continued to serve in air forces around the world, and its influence can still be seen in modern ground attack aircraft. But beyond its raw power and battlefield prowess, the P-47 remains a symbol of determination, the embodiment of the pilots who flew it, the crews who maintained it, and the victories it helped secure. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the legendary Thunderbolt, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible warbird stories. And as always, thanks for watching You Kids Don't Know. See you in the next one.